So, good afternoon, everyone. So let's start these sessions where we talk about cybersecurity from the beginning. So it will be very introduction to the cybersecurity and lead to the practice that, and sometimes if I can share, I may share my experience when managing the cybersecurity in my university. So let's start with this one. Imagine that you wake up in the morning and you see this screenshot in your console or your servers, right? This actually happened only few weeks ago in our university, in Khon Kaen University. Yes. So, but this screenshot is not the real one. It's just copy from the internet. But the question is that, what is your first response about this screenshot? What do you feel about it? Right. For most of the people, I believe the answer will be a panic. Right? It's very panic. Right? It's also happened to our team too. It's the first time that they see this screenshot in the university. And then because of that, some of our team, the younger, they respond to this kind of attacks by their feelings. Let's say they panic, they're afraid of loss of data and many other things. And sometimes their actions is not according to the good practice in cybersecurity. And it can be harmful, even worse than the situations. So many years ago, this is some of the feelings or expressions when we see some kind of attacks, right? Sometimes it won't, or when we implement information system in our organizations, right? This kind of attack won't happen to me, right? We have no secret to hide, right? We have only username, password. We don't care about the data that belong to us, right? In the past, that happened, right? We already have a good firewalls, redundant, very safe, right? We have deployed EDR, right? We have many proprietary software that keep our secret. Some other people believe in open source, like me. Right? We already implement open source software extensively. Have many people look at the source code. It should be safe, right? Many other things, right? Even our partners or ourselves has already been certified by very high standards, right? We believe that we are safe, right? It actually, no. It's not always safe or secure, right? And one expert that some of you may already heard about his name, Bruce Nye, is one of very notable security expert in this world. Right? Many years ago, he says this quote that you can be secure even though you don't feel that you are secure, right? And you can feel secure, just like we have firewall, we are secure even though it is not, right? In reality, right? This would actually show us that sometimes the reality and your feeling is not result to the same things, right? But I talk about this, and this is one of the first slide that I teach my student cybersecurity course. right? We has to start with why we use feeling to make decisions related to safety or security, right? And the answer is that our human being has been built by this way, right? Our brain, there are two systems in your brain. One of them, the analytics. Another one is respond to the feelings. And the feelings always win, right? It's run much quicker compared to analytic part. Your neocortex part, the larger parts of your brain, require time to analyze the event and resolve something that logical, right? But the feeling is not always logical, not all the time. But the output from the feeling part, amygdala part of your brain, is run very, very quick, run much quicker. That's why most of the time, if there are events about secure or safety, amygdala, the feeling part, will win, right? Will act quicker than the analytical part of your brain. Then that's why most of us, or probably all of us, right, use the feeling to make the decisions about security or safety. Right? It's not only happen to us; actually happen to any kind of animal, right? And another expert, co-founder of CrowdStrike, once said that, well, if we're talking about the cybersecurity, what is the reality of it? if not our feelings toward the event, so what is the reality? Right? Cybersecurity is the science of risk management, actually. So most of the time is that cybersecurity is about risk management. Right? It's a science that is already been established many, many years ago. Right? It's not in banking, in some other kind of insurance, is another part of them that use risk management all the times. Right? We apply that to the cybersecurity. That is the science of cybersecurity. That is the reality of cybersecurity, right? And if we're talking about risk, there is no way to eliminate all of the risk, right? We have to manage it, right? Manage it smartly, which means that it relates to your situations, your conditions, your budget, right? Your economics, your economy, right? So sometimes we say that risk management is about economic, right? So if you go to that, it means that we can use the equation that relate to the risk management, that the foundation of the science that we use for cybersecurity. We talk about the chance of probability of the event and the impact. And the probability can be computed or can be calculated according to vulnerability of the system, your information system, and the threats. Right? So all of them combined together indicate your risk. Right? So if you talk about technically, vulnerability is actually reside in your system, right? Information system. So software has a bug, hardware has a flaw, people has a bug too, right? Data can contain some kind of flaws as well. So that kind of thing are vulnerability. And sometimes it's not intentional, right? Human error is not intention, right? But it's also vulnerability to your system as well. So there are some other things, including ad hoc process, right? The process that invent at the event, it should not be happen, right? Compared to the well-documented one, well-documented must be better, or it's much better in terms of vulnerability is much less, right? Threats can be described to tools or threat actors or adversary, right? If you talk about tool, it can be a software that can execute as a threat to your system, right? Backdoor exploit, or natural disaster, right? Actor, if you talk about the people that are going to attack you, right, can be a hacker or can even be your colleagues, right? Unintentional, sometimes your colleagues, right? Your boss sometimes execute something that is not rational that can be a threat too. The activists in the recently, or even nation states, right? We see a lot of activity that related to nation states, right? One nation attack another nations, right? On the cyber world. And well, in terms of national defense, they actually, the cyberspace is the fifth domain of attacks. Right? We have a sea, air, land, space, and then cyberspace. Right? We define that as the fifth domain of attack as well. Right? The impact technically can be your data loss, your privacy loss. Right? Hardware failure is happened too. Right? Some software defect or some attack can harm your hardware. Right? Disable ability of your hardware totally. You have to ship it back to those factory or something. That happened. Right? Or if you define as a business, it can be a business disruptions, right? Financial loss. Some of them, many of disruption can be converted into financial loss as well. Right? Reputations is very, very high cost and legal penalties. Right? Those are the impact. Well, we use, usually we use the symbol multiplication, right? It indicates that if you can eliminate one of them, right, your risk will be zero, right? If you can eliminate vulnerability, zero, then your equations will be zero, right? No risk. That is the indication of multiplications, right? It means that we can reduce it, or we can eliminate some of it, right? But usually it's not all of them, right? So let's see in the reality for the vulnerability. This is a statistics of CVE. So I'm not sure that you heard about this. We have a database that collects all of the vulnerability that happen in any kind of system, the information system, hardware, software, firmware, anything, right? For any system, any brand, right? The CVE ones collect right now is for the year 2000. This is the statistic for each year, right? The number of vulnerability. Right? Recently, in 2024, is about 40,000. In 2025, up to last month, is already beyond 50,000. Right? If you think about that, it means that every 10 or 15 minutes, we have one flaw discovered from that, or less than 10 minutes. Right? We have discovered one vulnerability in one system. Right? Literally every 10 minutes. Right? That is a statistic. Right? So somehow our system will have a small or big vulnerability anyway. Right? It comes without we notice it. If you think about the threats, right? The statistic, most of the threats that we justify by the number of malware, malicious software that we don't want to execute it, but it happened to install in our system. Right? This is a number of malware by one of the antivirus vendor that collect all the possible malware that that already spread in our world. So right now it's about how much? This is the number of total malware since 1984. Right, 1.5 billion different types of malware. Right? So that is a threat to you, right? In terms of tool that they use to attack you. Right? That is one of the figure. in the reality. Right? So I used the AI to analyze the recent attacks, right, by using a deep research. That is the result. I just asked them that collect all of the recent report from cybersecurity vendors in many companies, and then compile it to the top 10 one. Right? We have this kind of threats that already report recently from the last year up to this year. Right? So the top 10, I don't know that that can be shown as a statistic for our threat right now, right? Recent threat or current threat that probably happen to our system sooner or later. So the top 10 one is not in any particular order, so just list the top 10. So the first one is about the identity attacks or credential thief. Well, if I'm not sure that you heard about the leaks of the big compilation of username and passwords recently. The number is about billions accounts, right? Actually, my computer has about 3 billion accounts, individual accounts, username and passwords, right? That's already leaked on the internet, where you can download. Actually, if you know the keyword, you can search for it, right? It's very big collections, right? Some very big, I think 3 or 4 terabyte. So I'm not sure about the number, but that is in my computer already. And we can test it later if you want to check if you are there. But it's more and more become more and more problem because someone steal the credential and use that credential to attack some other people, right? So they start to exploit those kind of credentials, right? Access to the system or access to the email, use an email to spread a phishing or something, right? That happen actually recently there are more and more, right, using the credential. And because it's, for example, for phishing, it's sent from someone that you might already know, right? You tend to believe that it's a true information, and you're very likely to click on any link in the email, right? There are also the attack that relate to the, username password can be solved by using multi-factor authentications, right? You use one factor, usually remember password, right? Then another factor to authenticate you without using a remember password, right? The second factor. The second factor can be your mobile phone, and you can be the SMS number, SMS message, right? That send one-time password to you, right? You need to remember that, right? So you just use it. But recently, some of the thieves start to try to bypass that kind of MFA because they already know that people are going to use MFA to protect their username and password or the credentials, right? There are start to have many techniques to get that one-time password, right? SMS is actually not safe anymore, right? You can fake it and you can actually capture those SMS easily by using the malware that in your mobile phone, right? It's not difficult. So we start to think about the technique that can strengthen that MFA. One of them that we try to introduce and start to encourage people to use is this standard that we call FIDO2, right? Which is related to mainly the FIDO2 implement into the passkey that in your mobile phone, right? If you can access to technology that we call passkey, it's very safe. Please use it, right? That is one of the solutions, and very strong multi-factor authentications. Right? the FIDO2, or you may use the hardware key, right, as a token to authenticate you as a second factor. That is also safe, right? It's very hard to attack that. So next, the threat recently is about ransomware, just like I got a few weeks ago. I got the ransomware that screenshot is actually the ransomware from Russia. Right? The name is from Russia, but I don't know the tech actors come from. Right? We can check from our log, actually, it's come back to one country in Europe. Right? By using the IP address, right, we can trace back, and we can see that that particular computer running a remote access back to our system. So we can be quite sure that that is the source of attacks, one of the source of attack. But anyway, what do you know about the ransomware? Right. In the past, ransomware is try to encrypt your data, right, and ransom your data. You need to pay to get it back, right? Usually, it happened in that way, right? That happened about 2 or 3 years ago, right? Recently, it's not, right? Because we start to know, people start to defend, deploy any kind of control to ensure that they can run the business, right? Even though they can, some people might ransom their data. So we start to do a very good backup, right? We keep backup all the time, right? Every day, for example, right? So the attacker know that. Last year or last 2 years, I heard one of the events in Thailand that the ransomware start to attack the backup first, then destroy the primary data, and then do the ransom data. Get me your money to get your data back, right? They start to kill the attack first, right? So we have another technology that we do, offline backup, right? We can come back anyway, right? So the ransom people start to use a technique to extort your money. Instead of get me the money, get your data back. No, right now, if you don't get me money, I will disclose your data to the public. So it damages your reputations. It damages your privacy, user privacy. And because of that, ransomware right now start to attack some of critical infrastructure, including healthcare organizations, hospitals, which relate to the user privacy data, right? So some of hospitals don't want to reputation damage, right? So some of them might pay for the ransom. Right? It is actually a business for them, for the attackers, right? Professional business. They even have a ransomware as a service provide for you, right? We have a crime as a service already exists as a business, very, very big business, right? We have an estimate about 10 billion annually run through the crime as a service underground, right? 10 billion US dollar each year, right? That's happened. So how can we evade that? How can we solve this kind of problems? No, very difficult, right? So because of that, the data loss prevention will be much, much more important, right? And the technique that we can respond quicker than the data leak, right? Using EDR or XDR, right? Endpoint detect and respond. Right? If you can detect quickly and respond quickly, you might stop the data leak. You might be able to stop the data leak. That will be more and more important, right, after this year. The third one is the exploitation of vulnerability 0 day, right? When we disclose, in the past, when we disclose any kind of 0 day or any kind of vulnerability, it takes months for someone to build or weaponize software to attack you by using those kind of vulnerability. Right now, with help of AI and many other things, factors, it takes only 7 days or less than 7 days to weaponize. Which means that if you know that we have a 0-day attack today, that the vulnerability that nobody know how to fix it, right? After 7 days, there will be someone build a software to attack you. Right? Only 7 days. In the past, it will be months. It takes time to develop a software to attack you. Right now, it's not. Right? So that's it. Very, very big problems because especially for sensors or IoT, that we have a lot of devices that have to patch at the same time, right? Without downtime, it's very difficult for us to manage that. So, and those are the target for the 0-day as well. So that is another problem, big problem. Fourth one is AI, right? I believe that everyone know about ChatGPT, right? Actually, the early version of ChatGPT has helped some of the attacker to build a virus, right? And after that, ChatGPT or OpenAI knows that it can be harmful to other people. They start to build or embed a system prompt to ensure that they will not create or build any kind of source code that might be harmful, right? So we have to filter, or let's say, well, in terms of AI, we call it sensor chips to make a sensors, right? Sensors, some of informations, input and output from the AI, right? So AI, we have sensor chips. So, but anyway, you heard about fraud GPT or worm GPT or not? That is a kind of model that has been built specifically to create a fraud, right? To generate any kind of fraud automatically, right? Instead of using people to run a kind of software to create a fraud and evidence for frauding, right? So, but no, right now, it can be automated by using AI. But your Worm GPT also another software they use to build a malicious software. Right? You can ask them to code a virus for you, ask them to code any kind of malware for you. Right? You cannot do it with a conventional model, right? GPT, Gemini, or whatever. Right? Claude, no, right? Because they have a censorships. Right? There are some models that intentionally remove all the censorships and then design specifically or fine-tune specifically for those kind of attack. Right? Already there, right? In the dark web, right? You can use it. Actually, you can just search and you see it. Right? Cloud software and supply chain will be also a big problem as well. Not sure if you heard about the library, one of the compression library called XC, XC, right? The author of this software intentionally hide something, hide a malware, a backdoor inside the library, right? So everyone that use XC library for compression or depression compression and depression, they can infect by the virus. They can have this kind of vulnerability that some other people can attack it. Right? It's open the back door for some other people. Right? Even though you write a good software, but if you use a bad or vulnerable library, right, you might have the problem. Right? So that is called a supply chain attack. Right? They attack the supply chain of your software, right? A library that you use. XC is one of them, and it's very intention. Their intention is very clear. Next is the nation-state or nation-state sponsor attacks or activities. Well, it's related to geopolitical. So they are usually target critical sector to disable ability to provide for example, telecommunications, healthcare sector. Right? The activity is identified by using the code APT, right? Because most of them be APT attacked as persistent threat, right? Number 40 is one of the country. Number 41 is another country. I will not say what the country is, but you can search for it. 44, 45, right? So that are sponsored by the nations, government of some kind of nations, right? To attack some other people, or even though they are allies, right? They don't need to be the enemy, right? They can use infrastructure of their ally to attack their enemy as well, right? That is one of thing that, for example, in my university, I deploy one of the policy that if there are any armed conflict happen in this world, we will block that country immediately, right? So we block, let's say, Russia and Ukraine for 2 years, 1 or 2 years already, right? Recently, we blocked Turkey and some Iran, Iraq, those kind of things. Lebanon, Israel, right? We block input from those countries to our university. That is the policy that we execute, right? Even though we're not in the middle of the conflict, right? But they will use it anyway. And there are also evidence that we see that they're punching our firewall all the time, right? From those countries. It happened. It really happened. Insider threat, very interesting. Recently, we see the activity from one of the country that try to get a job remotely and become one of the employee in a company in one of the countries, and that person is not actually want to work for that company. They want to access or want to attack that company. Right? It become the insider threat of the company, actually. So you can search the keyword UNC 5267. You will know what is the country is, what they're trying to do. Okay. So we never heard or never see something like this in the past. Let's say 5 years ago, this kind of thing never happened. Right? But recently, anything possible in the cybersecurity. Next one is automate scanning. Right? When you want to attack anything, usually you need to scan for the live host and get information on the host that you want to attack. Then create a weapon, right? Create a software to attack them, or use any kind of exploit to attack them. Right now, they can be automated. Right? You don't need to do it manually, right? And someone already automate for you all the time, 24/7. Keep scanning, keep attack, get the data and sell it. It's a business. Once again, it's a business. So they can sell any kind of your credential. They can sell a credential. If you want to access this system, I have username password for you. If you want to control this system, I have a dashboard for you. Right? They sell this kind of thing, and they use automate too, instead of using do things manually. Right? So that's already there. Right? RDP access is one of the very good target, right? Because you can do RDP is remote access, right? If you can get the RDP, which means that you can access remotely to any kind of software or computers, you get the keyboard and mouse and control it remotely, right? Or shell or any type of thing, right? They are already automated, right? And they sell those kind of thing. Okay, next one is malware-free intrusion. It's very interesting because usually we scan for the malware. Right? We have a signatures of each malware. That's why we can identify them. This is a malicious software. We have to eliminate that, right? Recently, the attackers start to know about this. So they start using a basic software that already in your system, right, to create a weapon, then attack. So it's very difficult to detect because it's a software that already in your operating system, let's say, cmd.exe command line that you use, right? The shell that in your Linux, that they can create a shell script. You don't know about it, right? Because the software itself is already installed in the system and is harmless, right? It's normal software, it's not malicious software. But some other people, the attacker can use this kind of software to create a weapon, create a software, malicious software from them. Right? It's very difficult to detect. Right? So this kind of thing requires some kind of EDR, right? To respond quickly, right? Because we cannot detect beforehand, right? We can detect only the activity that happened from your computer, from your system, right? Very difficult. The target attack or critical sectors, once again, right, high value industry has been targeted. Right? If you heard about, well, if you relate to recent activity between United States and Iran, you might heard about a malicious software that called Stuxnet. Right? It's one of the software that target to the nuclear facility in Iran. Right? That is not online. Nothing online to the internet. Right? But they can spread one of the virus to the Stuxnet one, to that nuclear facility somehow. Right? That many years ago, right, and more has been targeted by one of the countries. So basically, telecommunications, because they cannot tolerate for the downtime, right? If for 10 minutes of downtime of a mobile operator, 10 minutes lost a lot of money, right? Or healthcare, right? Hospital, they cannot tolerate for the data loss, so they are being attacked, right? So those kind of thing. The third that we talk about is a threat actor, right? We talked about the threats, recent threats. What about the threat actor, right? Those people that we call a hacker or attacker. One of the professor many years ago tried to build a taxonomy for the hacker, right? By group them by motivations, let's say. There are 4 different motivations for those hackers, right? And by the skill. And they can separate into 9 different groups. Those hackers actually are 9 different groups of people, right? From the novice one, right? Very low skill, near to the center of the circle, very low skill, right? And their motivation usually start from the curiosity. They want to know, they want to understand, they want to explore, right? So the beginning is usually curiosity. Right? The next one is cyberpunks, for fame, notoriety, right? Misspell actually, notoriety, for fame. Right? More skill compared to the novice one. Internal attack is here. Basically, they are motivated by money, financial gain, right? Or they are motivated by revenge because company treat them not good, right? It's not fair for them, right? So they try to attack their own company. Right? That's the internal attack. Petty thief, basically for money, financial gain, right? Virus writer is here. Revenge, curiosity. Occult hacker, the white hat, curiosity, very high skill. Opposite is professional criminal, right? Basically, they get the money to do things, right? So basically financial gain, right? Information warrior here, cyber soldier that we talk about, right? Basically for their jobs and protect the country, right? So they are between financial gains and revenge. Right. Last one, political activists. We have more and more of this, do for fame and money. So they are those hackers motivated by these four, right? And depend on skill. They plot into these quadrants for each quadrant. So we know that the threat actor can be one of them, one of these people, right? And we can know that what motivates them to attack us. Right? That is the reality as well. That is the by number. Let's try. I'm not sure that you still feel safe enough. I want you to try this. Okay, we still have a lot of time actually. So we can try this one. First of all, it's safe. The website is very safe, so don't worry about it. So you can scan, or if you have a computer, you can use a shortened URL. Actually, I pay for that website as well. Right? I subscribe to their service. I will do it too, but because I cannot show you. But when you access to this website, the website is have I been owned, right? HIBP, have I been pwned, นะครับ So it's a language for those hackers, people that relate to the cybersecurity, have I been owned. The website is actually created by security experts from Microsoft, right? And they start to collect credential of user, data leaks, right? And allow people to check whether your data has been leaked or not, right? Based on an email, right? So you can put an email, your own email or some other people's email, right? Put an email and check whether the email already been leaked or not. Your data related to the email already been leaked or not, right? Let's try. How many data breach that you have that has been reported from this website? I got 7 from my email. Anyone have more than 7? Or no? Yeah, I see some other people. Yeah. Or anyone got 0? The green, yeah, very good, right? You can test with other email that you have, right? Not only one. You can try some other email as well. So you can try your, let's say, your boss email. See if the data leak or not. I try too. So anyway, that's it. Report and you will get the information that what's event or activity that happened in the past that make your data leaked to the public internet, right? For example, for me, one of the recent data leak is from Trello, the software, a web-based software for project management, right? Trello.com. I subscribed it, and then somehow they're being attacked and the database had been leaked out. So they know all of the user that use some that steal that data, the access to the database, get all of information about the user of Trello. So I one of the victim. Right? There are 100 million of other people also the victim for Trello. Another big data leaks, probably Canva, right? Canva.com for the design thing. I still use Canva for my presentations, but yes, my account has been leaked, and it's very serious because at that time, because I don't know, The data leaks include your email and password, right? Some of the leak is not include the password. It should be fine, right? But it relate to your privacy or personal data, there will be report from the have I been owned, right? But the Canva one, if you have, I'm not sure you have the report Canva data leak or not, right? If you have Canva data leaks list in your account, it means that your password in Canva is not safe anymore, right? And for that particular event, Canva knows that and alert all of the user to change the password immediately, right? After they know that data had been leaked out. Right? That's how they compensate to your users or communicate to your users, right? To fix the problem. So anyway, I use this all the time for checking our user in the university, right? Because I own the domain of the university, I can scan all of the user by using their service. That's why I have to subscribe for the service, right? To check whether our user that we have to protect them, right? Any kind, what are those users that being attacked by the data leak somewhere, right? But interestingly, some of the data leaks is not from the website that you are using, right? Because some of the website or service sells their data to another party, right? And your third party and that third party probably leak out the data, so you are the victim of them too, right? All of the 7, only 2 service, all of the 7 that data leak in my account, that list in my account, only that I am using. 5 of them I have never been touched them, right? Which means that 2 of them might sell user data source from third party. Right? That also happened. That is one of the risks for your data as well, or your user data. So be very careful. So right now, for particularly for Canva, we use the Google account login instead of using email and password, right? So Canva will not store any credential. They only have the email address, but the login will be done by the Google, right? Authorized by Google instead of using password, right? So we safe right now, right? So you can try anytime, right? And you can test with any of your email. Okay. Now, that is the reality, right? So anyway, my reality is 7 data breach, right? For only one particular email. Right? I used 10 emails. Right? The other one is 5, another one is 7. It's not from me. Some other people leak my data. Right? So that's the reason why recently security is very serious business, right? Because it damages reputation, it leads the income of the service, right? So how can we define secure, right? Security? How can we say that our system is secure? Right? Well, in cybersecurity, we define by this CIA triad, right? When we talk about the system, there are only 2 things that you need to protect: data and business process. Only 2 of them: data and business process. Sometimes we call it service, fine, right? Business process may be more appropriate, right? For in business point of view, right? And to define that data has been protected, is safe, right? Or business process has been protected or safe, right? We define by 3 different foundations of data and service. Confidentiality, can we keep the secret, right? Integrity, can we make sure that nobody changes it unintentionally, right? And availability, the service or data available when we want to use it, right? They actually, the definition, let's say the term a definition that define the standard IO standard has been used it has been defined many years ago, right? And has been used in many standards of ISO, right? If we talk about confidentiality, it means this, integrity means this, and availability means this, right? Well, confidentiality doesn't mean that we keep the secret from everyone, right? We keep the secret from person that we want to reveal information to them, right? Right? We reveal only the particular persons. That means we have a confidentiality, right? Control the confidentiality of data or service, right? Or business process, right? Integrity, right? Ensure that data has not been altered or destroyed in unauthorized manner. Right? And availability, right? Property of being accessible or usable upon the demand, right? It doesn't mean available 24/7, well, all the time, every second. No, right? When we want to access, it's available, it's fine, right? When we don't want to access, it's not available, it's also fine, right? So the availability is only, we count the availability when by being accessible when we want to access, right? So there are two conditions, right? Well, there are many techniques, right? Technically, to provide this kind of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you are in the business of IT, right, you probably know how to using data encryptions, using hash, any kind of thing, load balance, or high availability designs, right, to solve those kind of problems, right? But the data and business process, each of them might require different level or different kind. We don't require all of them, right? Some of the data doesn't need to be secret, but has to be very, very high integrity, right? Very, very high availability. Some of the data require very, very high confidentiality, right? So it depends on the type of data or type of business process, right? You doesn't need to do everything for every type of data, right? You have to define it. Well, to me, I don't know, some of the security experts said that the most difficult one is actually this one. Integrity is very difficult, right? It's much more difficult compared to confidentiality or availability. The proof that your data is keep integrity of your data is very difficult. Right? Mathematically or technically, implementation is very difficult. Right? Okay, so we have the frameworks for cybersecurity. There are many frameworks actually, but particularly in Thailand, we use these frameworks. Right? We have one of our organization that control the cybersecurity, the agency of government agencies called NCSA, right? National Cybersecurity Agency in Thailand. Right? They adopt these frameworks, become a national framework for cybersecurity. Basically, so they encourage any organization that run IT system to use these frameworks to protect the system, right? Data and business process. So I see many frameworks. Another framework probably the ISO one, right? the standard ISO ISMS information security management, right? Which is the ISO 27000 series, right? But what I see is that it's still using the basic frameworks from risk management, which is using Plan, Do, Check, Act, PDCA, right? If you know about those kind of quality improvement or management, they use the framework PDCA all the times. And actually, the NIST cybersecurity frameworks also similar, very, very similar to Plan, Do, Check, Act. But they divide or they define in technical term in different name, right? Different terms. So we have a governed, right? Actually there are 6 of them: governed, right? Control the policy, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, right? Okay, that's the definition. No, that is the purpose, right? The objectives of those 6 different terms. Right? The governance means that it's related to the target or the objectives of the governed things. It's about the policy, right? Management strategy, risk management strategy, and communicate to people, right? Keep monitor, right? So it defines the expectation and the policy, and also communicate to people that in the circles, right? That are the governed. Well, for example, in Khon Kaen University, the strategy is actually resilient, right? You have to be survived, right? And we put in simple terms that anything can be destroyed except data. Right? It means that we are invest a lot of money to ensure that our backup is safe. This kind of thing, right? Your hardware can be destroyed, right? We can buy a new hardware, right? No problem. The software can be reinstalled, but the data is very difficult to get it back, right? If it has been destroyed. Right? It damages a lot of business process and reputation. So that is the one thing for our strategy, right? Cyber resilience. Identify, right? To identify the risk, which means you have to identify the assets in your IT, right? In your all of the asset belong to information system, right? You have to define the risk, do the risk assessment, right? To understand, right? And see and try to find the control that probably be able to apply to reduce the risk, right? To identify. Protect basically is to install or use the control, right? To protect your system. Confidentiality, once again, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, 3 of them, right? Use various kind of control. Detect, right? In terms of attack, you have to be detect, right? Be able to detect that, right? In terms of when you are compromised, right? Be able to analyze, right? Which means you have to keep the log, for example, right? And log should be safe too, right? Log has been destroyed, no way you can check it, right? You can analyze it. So by detect things, respond, right? Related to this incident response. So, for example, in 2 weeks ago, about a ransomware, right? If you have a document how to respond to this kind of event, it will be very, very good, right? Nobody, well, in the first time you might be panic, right? But if you have the manual in your hand, right, you know how to do it, right? How to fix it, how to respond to that kind of event. Right. So we have to have this kind of document, right? Formal document or well document for the incident response, right? And we can be able to recover from the incidents, right? For that particular incident, we have just been recovered fully this morning, right? The service had been disrupted for weeks, for 1 week, right? And we start to run some of the service only last week, right? And this morning we can run it fully, 100% back, right? That is recovery, right? So recommendations, right? We have about 10 minutes here. So the recommendation about the cyber resilience, right? According to the threats and recent threat that we see, right? We will see this kind of term as a technique or technology that we can adopt to fix those kind or to prevent those kind of threats, right? One of technology that we talk a lot recently is called zero trust, which means that you cannot believe or trust anyone. You have to, or in other words, you have to verify everything, every entity that access to your information system, right? If someone claims that I am a user of this system, you have to verify it, username, password, or whatever, right? If someone said that this computer should be able to plug into your network, you have to verify is it allowed or not. Right? That is a basic idea about the zero trust. You trust nothing, you verify everything. Right? Well, in my university, for example, we just implemented zero trust technology for a few months. Right? It's looked very, very good. Right? And again, for the ransomware event, right, the solution, one of the solutions we implement after the event is a zero trust network architecture. Right? Okay, our network access. Okay, next one is about the MFA multi-factor authentication. We talk about some of the attackers start to know how to attack your multi-factor authentication. Right? After they know the password, they input the malware in your mobile phone, for example, and capture all of the message from the SMS and relay it back to the attacker. So they know the OTP, right? So that's one of the examples. So it's not safe anymore, right? Some of MFA is very safe, the other might not be very safe. So pick one of them that phishing resist, like FIDO2 or passkey, very safe. You can use it, right? Patch and vulnerability management is to respond to the zero-day attack, right? You have to learn about the vulnerability and release of the CVE, right? And respond to that CVE quickly, right? After they reveal that there are bugs or there are vulnerability in the system in this particular version, you need to upgrade it, right? To fix it, you have to act immediately, right? And those kind of things can be used to manage. EDR, XDR, and many other software can be able to do it. Patch cadence, right? Security scorecard can help you for that. Right? It can check whether your software or your system is patched up to the good level or not. Right? Okay, cloud security related to supply chain attack. Right? We use cloud native more and more. Right? It also means that the cloud native have their own type of security. You have to learn about how to control it. Right? Most of the cloud provider also provide security for protect your system already. Use it. Right? AI-driven EDR, XDR, right? To respond or detect quicker from human being for the rule-based system. Right? Use AI to check, right? So they're already available. Right? Awareness training, focus on defects. I heard something about defects in the morning. Yeah, it can be very sophisticated, right? Right now, one of the defects voice, right? Get you only 30 seconds of sample. You can be anyone. You can fake any voice. Right? You just steal only 30 seconds of that person's voice samples, right? And you cannot detect it's a fake or not. Right? By phone, no way. Right? That is relate to some other phishing, right? Voice phishing, right? Deepfakes, help desk frauds, right? And incident response preparedness, once again, right? Well documented is much better than an ad hoc one. The ad hoc process can be one of a vulnerability in your system. So you should have a well documented, test it, right? Improve it when the incident doesn't work, right? Document doesn't work, you have to improve it, right? Because it's a cycle, PDCA, right? Cycles. Right? So prepare for that. And the data resilience, well, I'm not sure that you heard about 3-2-1 backup rules. Anyone have heard about that? Right? The rule says that you have to keep 3 copies of your data, right? 1 primary, 2 backups, so 3 copies, right? Those 2 backups should be in different type of media, right? 1 in your hard drive, 1 in SSD, or some different type of media, right? Make sure that if one of technology obsolete, you still be able to use those kind of another kind of technology to recover your data, right? Because sooner or later, probably the SATA interface might not be available, USB might not be available, right? If you keep your data in USB drive, you cannot access it, right? So different type of media is required. And one of them should be offline or off-site in different place from the primary one, right? That's why one of the techniques that we use for the backup in this 3-to-1 backup rule is use air gap, right? When you want to back up, it will be online. After backup completely, it will be disconnect from your networks automatically. That's what we call air gap, right? So it should be safe from the attack, right? Because it disconnect from the network. Because make sure that your backup still safe, right? Because they will attack your backup first before the primary data. Well, it's first time that I heard about this, I have been shocked too. My first response. So that's it all about the introduction to cybersecurity. Thank you for letting me sharing this experience to you for this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.